All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. We are here with esteemed jazz guitarist Patrick Yandall. The interview is finally happening. Patrick, how you doing today?
Good, good.
Awesome.
Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
of course, of course. I know it's a 3 hour time difference or so where you're at.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so before we get into some of the questions, I just want to say we found you because I was in a McDonald's. Uh, it was about 8:15 in the morning, and I hear this song. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, like what is that? I like the smooth like sound of that. And it was off your album Jazz on the Vine, Darker the Grape.
Oh yeah.
This song is great. And I text her, I'm like, yo, we should use this for our weather minute on the radio show. And so since then, about 2 years ago, we've been playing your music every show. This semester we decided to switch it up and play a new song every week. So we've really been delving into your discography.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so here's
Who's at a McDonald's, huh? That's funny.
it was, yeah, I'm sure you've heard it at some interesting places.
Yeah, yeah. Weather Channel stuff and
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of weird places. Some malls we'll walk in and there it is. And so
That's wild. I also, so one of my favorite songs here is Piston Stomp.
oh
Heard at the Atlanta airport. And then 4 days later, coming out the Salem airport, I heard the song again, and I was just like, "This is crazy! Like, what is going on?"
What an odd.
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, anyway, so we can get started with the actual questions now.
I'd love to give you a story of how we
Yes,
found you.
because again, it's
No, good. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. So
yeah,
good
it's
to hear.
honestly, I love discovering music. You know, I'm in my early 30s now, and I'm still trying to find stuff all the time. And I'm just really happy to find someone as chill and cool as you, and you keep pumping out music, which we love.
Yeah.
We're happy about that. But anyway,
Yeah. So, how long have you been making music professionally?
I started playing in clubs. I grew up in Michigan, and I started playing in clubs when I was in ninth grade. So I got in these bands with these older guys that were playing in clubs, and some of the clubs knew of my age. I tried to look older. I could grow a mustache in ninth grade. So again, I started playing clubs, and some of the clubs that knew I was too young, I'd have to go sit outside on breaks. And some of the clubs I was playing in was during the winter in Michigan. So I'd have to go and sit out in the car in the cold in Michigan. So, it's kind of funny, but that's where I started. I started playing in church and those bands. And then, I just kept going from there. I started college in Michigan and, at Central Michigan. And then I transferred out here to San Diego State and still studying some music, but I just wasn't a good student. I always I always found bands that needed me and started playing a lot of clubs, and that's how I got into the Southern California scene, playing out here. I just started playing in a bunch of different bands, and all of a sudden my stuff started to take off.
yeah, I lived in the Chicago area when I was younger, and I visited Michigan a couple times, and I know how cold it can get.
Yeah.
Very frigid.
And my son's going to college at University of Chicago, Illinois.
Oh,
Just
cool.
down, he lives downtown out there, and I'm there a lot actually to go
You
visit.
ever hit up Portillo's for a hot dog?
That's he played lacrosse at Elmhurst University, and there was a Portillo's real close to that. And we would, every time we went to visit him, we would go there.
Oh, that's
That
so
place is insane.
all right, so next question for us. What initially like drew you to jazz and fusion guitar? Like, who were some of your like earliest influences that like got you to say, wow, this is like my genre?
Mhm.
I got a shirt on of a guy I heard when I was a kid,
Oh.
Jeff Beck.
Heck yeah.
And he kind of, and I really grew up playing rock. I was really into rock and some funk and stuff, and you can kind of hear that in my music. But when I heard Jeff Beck kind of fusing rock and instrumental jazz, and I thought that's where I want to go, and I might end up broke, but that's what I feel. When I play that stuff, I feel it. It's what I know how to do. So
You do it so well. I have.
oh, thank you.
I used
Appreciate
to
it.
play guitar. I don't really have time for music anymore, but when I hear you solo or do any kind of riff, I'm like, yeah, that is some nice, real nice playing overall.
Appreciate it.
Hear
Thank
the
you.
funk influences.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, what's that?
I said I could definitely hear the funk influence. in
Yeah,
the
there's a
music.
lot of R&B. I
Yeah.
grew up with brothers, and one brother loved R&B, and then two others loved rock, and they were all listening to it. And then when I became a musician so young, they would say, "Hey, listen to this." And one brother gave me loved all the Led Zeppelin stuff, so I grew up learning all the Led Zeppelin stuff. And then the other brother loved Average White Band and a lot of the R&B acts. And so again, that all that stuff kind of creeps into my music because I just grew up playing it and learning it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So we each like set of questions we made sure to have like a little fun question that was kind of like off kilter here.
Sure.
Here's one. What's your guilty pleasure song or like a genre of music that might surprise people just who know you as what you do?
Guilty pleasure song.
You know,
That's
super
a good
hard.
question. That's a tough question. You know, I again with the funk and I used to love like learning and listening to Rick James stuff. So, and he had a song, I saw him perform live a couple times, and it's called Mary Jane. And when I was young, that's what they called marijuana. It was Mary Jane. So when I saw him play in concert, he'd start that song out and everybody knew what it was, and they'd throw all these joints at the stage. So all these hundreds and hundreds of joints go on stage. So again, that's probably my song. When I hear it, I just laugh, and I like to listen to it because of that, you know, that happening at a concert of his.
I love that.
And it's a funky tune too. It's a great guitar tune too. So
I need to take a listen to that. I don't know that.
Yeah, you should kick back and listen to it.
What is this is also a very tricky question. What is your favorite song or album that you have performed?
Of mine?
Yes.
Oh.
And I know you have like almost 30 albums now.
I know.
Yeah,
that's a really rough question.
That is, but an album that didn't do that well for me, but I really enjoy playing the stuff out live is called Stratofunk. Stratofunk, and it's got some funk rock tunes, and they call it fusion, but it's got that kind of that one's up there. But probably my most favorite album I recorded in New Jersey, and I had like a lot of big jazz names. It's called From the Ashes.
Yes.
And I recorded at Tony Bennett's studio there in Jersey. I was signed to an album record label out of New York. So we had guys from the David Letterman band come and play on the album, like Will Lee and Randy Brecker and all these guys, you know. So that's the one I'm probably most proud of. And that was another one, didn't make that much money, but you know, some of the tunes off there I still play in my live shows. So. Wow. Yeah, From the Ashes. Yeah, thanks for that question. That got me thinking there.
The favorite song to play live in general, like number one go-to, like every show, like if someone yells out Freebird, but they're yelling a song for you.
Usually one that gets requested a lot, and I still love playing it. It's my second album I did in 1997, and it's called Artful Expression. Yeah. And the reason why I like playing that live still is it lets the other musicians stretch. And I get some of these heavy cats from LA playing with me, and it's a bass feature. So a lot of the bass, you know, there's a bass solo in it. It's pretty short on the record, but when I play it live, I let the bass player just go off, and it's a funky tune, and it's got we kind of do it like a fusion jazz song when we play it live. So there's a lot of room for expression and soloing in it. And so that Artful Expression, the name of the album was A Lasting Embrace.
Yeah.
From 1997.
The very 90s album cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We've seen it.
I wasn't even wearing that suit when they put it on. The graphic designer put it on. I said,
"Are you serious?"
Yeah.
So you're probably just wearing like a t-shirt and jeans, and they put it.
Yeah, and I don't dress like that, you know. I'm pretty cash, and so yeah, it's kind of funny. And it's actually we were looking for I was on a record label out of LA, and they wanted all these. I had to go through these books of models with long hair. They wanted a woman with long hair. And so I'm going through all these books. Yeah, just find one you like that you think will be good for the album cover. And so after going through about 300 models, I said, you know, my wife has long hair, right? You know, she's Japanese with long hair. And they said, would she do that cover? Because it's going to be a silhouette. I said, yeah, why are we going to hire a model for when it's just going to be a silhouette of somebody? Yeah. So it ended up, on there, if you look, there's a silhouette of me holding a woman.
At
least it's my wife. And I
That's so cool.
Speaking of From the Ashens, we are going to get into a song break, including you requested Unsung Hero from the album From the Ashens. So we're gonna get right to that.
Cool.
All right, we are back. We are interviewing Patrick Yandall, which is something that is 2 years in the making.
I have to say, Patrick, we have talked about doing this probably for the last 3 semesters. It's our last semester.
Oh, really?
Doing
yeah.
Show. Like, our final show is in like 3 weeks. It's very sad.
You guys are both graduating?
Yep.
I am.
Oh,
but Jordan is. Thank you. We've been here, a while, undergrad and grad. We talked about contacting you for a minute. We were always like, "Oh, Patrick, he's so cool. He's not gonna want to talk to us." And here we are.
Oh yeah, right.
We're so happy you're here.
Yes, we appreciate it.
But anyway, we've got another fun question for you to start this round of questions.
Yes, our fun question: Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
Okay.
And then, which member do you see yourself at in the Rolling Stones?
Keith Richards.
Oh, that's a solid answer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so a question for me: where did you get started as a musician? Like, you mentioned you played guitar in church and stuff like that. Did you play anything else, like drums, piano? Because I started off playing piano, but then I graduated to guitar, bass, vocals. So people start somewhere and end up somewhere else sometimes.
Yeah, I started playing in church, like I was mentioning. My dad was a musician, and he was a musician in the Army. So around the house, he had all these instruments laying around: guitar, bass, sax, and trumpet, and everything. So I started when I started in 4th grade. I started on trumpet, and I've never been that great of a reader, but my ear was so good from my dad, and I could pick up stuff. So I was picking up all these different trumpet tunes just from ear, and then when I was playing in the band at school, I could play stuff without, if I heard it once, I could play it on the trumpet. And then when I got into 5th grade, all of a sudden guitar came around, and I kind of switched to guitar completely.
Yeah, that's
because the girls liked the guitars, and they liked the guitar, and I started playing a lot of church guitar, and it was actually my first paying gig was church gig. They paid me like $50 a mass, and then when you're in 5th grade, that's a lot of money.
Wow, 5th grade.
5th grade,
incredible.
Back
that's
then,
that's what, in the 70s or so.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money for back then. Wow.
So it was a good paying gig, first gig, and I met some of those other guys that actually, by the time I got into 9th grade, some of those guys that had seen me play at church were already seniors in high school and had bands, and they came back and said, "Hey, come play with us." And that's when I first started playing professionally out live in 9th grade. So
networking is so important no matter what career path you're in.
Yeah,
it is. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
So you did talk about the other genres of music that influenced you, like R&B, funk, rock. Are there any others that you'd like to add, or are those the main?
Like bands, anything you're really into in general? Just
Yeah, growing up, I really liked there was a band called Yes. You guys are probably too young. You know of them.
We just played them on our Prague show. We had a couple.
Oh, yeah, great.
I love your Mood for a Day cover.
Oh, you heard it.
I know. We went very deep into the discography.
We're kind of big fans, if that wasn't obvious.
I'd like to go back and do that one again, to be honest.
For sure.
I was kind of under the gun to get that thing out, and I wanted that tune on there. So it was, and I've seen them live probably 3 or 4 times, and got to meet Steve Howe, and he's probably one of my biggest influences. Because he kind of crosses jazz with rock, and he's got classical in him too. So I've had a little bit of experience with all 3 of those genres. Not so much the classical, but the jazz and the rock.
Is there any modern artists or bands that you're into from the past 20, 30 years?
Again, the jazz rock stuff. Chick Corea's Electric Band. I really got into the guy that was the guitarist there, Frank Umbali. I actually took session lessons from him a few times, and just a good guy from Australia, crazy good player, and just takes everything lightly, and except for getting music correct, and that's kind of the way I am. It's just everything else is just kind of fun and enjoy it, but music has to be right for me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. we also talked a little bit about this, the coolest thing that happened to you within a musical setting? I know you mentioned that you had people from the David Letterman show record
Yeah.
with you, and that's definitely like an awesome
Are there any
experience.
notable other things that have happened that are pretty cool or?
Yeah, that one of the biggest honors I've had is having stuff. They did a PBS special on me in the Midwest,
Wow.
and it was one of those things where people call in and donate money for the university, and it was and they did it. They showed like concert clips of mine, and then I had to answer questions. And actually, I performed a few solo pieces on that PBS special. So again, it was kind of neat. And I thought when I did it, I thought it was one of those PBS specials they show all over the country, but it wasn't. It was just shown in the Midwest. But it is on YouTube, and a lot of people have aired it on different shows. So it's that was pretty cool for them. It's a big honor for me for that.
PBS is great. That's really
yeah
yeah organization.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, how do you like approach blending all these genres into your style? Like I've heard a couple things from you that I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound like the rest of your music in general. Like what's your like process there, would you say?
Some of the albums, early albums or albums I've done that I was on labels, they would approach me and say, "Hey, how about an album this kind of genre?"
Okay.
And some of the stuff I did for the labels, but a lot of times I try to put things in songs, even the smooth jazz or stuff. I try to inject some blues and rock or something in there that makes me feel like, okay, that song is still me, even though it was geared towards what the label wanted.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Be a compromise between you as the artist.
Yeah.
There has been, but albums that I do on my own that are on my own label, that's all me. That's nobody else saying, "Hey, let's do this."
Just your own. How long have you been making music for your own label?
Geez. After my first record label, I had 2 record label deals in the 90s.
Okay.
And then 2001, I think I started my own label, just because the smooth jazz thing, there wasn't a label out there that was putting a lot of money into the artists. They stopped really doing that in the early 2000s. It was mostly on the artist's dime. So I looked at it like, well, why am I going to pay you a percentage when you're not doing anything? You're not setting up tours. They weren't paying for. Sometimes they were paying for studio time, it gets expensive, but they weren't paying a lot of money besides that. So,
okay.
And then they would ask first party or publishing or writers, and it's not a good thing.
So then most of your stuff since the early 2000s has been self-released then?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I was on that record label in New York that I did. That was in 2005, 2006. I did From the Ashes and the album right before that. I gotta think about that. Oh, Eyes of Mars. Those are both on that opera label out of New York. Those guys were actually pretty good. They pretty much came to me and said, "Who do you want out of New York to play on that album?" That's how I got those guys. Like,
you got the Steely Dan treatment there, getting to pick your own musicians.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Joel Rosenblatt played the drums on there, and he's from Spyro Gyra. So great session drummer too. So
I wanted to ask, for one of our music breaks, would you like us to play any of your like influences at all, like Jeff Beck or Yes or anything like that?
You can always play Jeff Beck. There's a song I play live and I get a lot of requests for. It's called "Cause We've Ended as Lovers," and that's that Jeff Beck tune I do out pretty much wherever I play live. And it's a big feeling, good feeling for me when I'm performing that tune.
Cool. All right, with that, we're going to get into some music, including some influences from Patrick, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, we are back with Patrick Yandall. This is Be Kind Rewind. I'm Dan.
And I'm Jordan.
All right, cool. Let's get back into some questions. We're about halfway through now.
All right. Can you share some insights into the creative process while you're composing songs?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll start out, I practice guitar every day. So noodling around and serious practice, then noodling too, a little bit of both. And usually in the noodling, I'll start playing something that, hey, that kind of neat, and then I'll expand on it. So it all starts out from something I on guitar, and then I'll take it to my, my computer and start laying tracks down, multi-tracks down, and try and build it on. And believe me, I've thrown away probably 500, 600 songs over the years.
Wow.
Just because I get to, and I'll finish them and actually sit back and listen to them and think, that's not working. And throw the whole thing, spend a whole day on something or 2 days, and then it's like, no, it's just, I'm not feeling it, and throw it out.
Because you have other musicians, like, do you write songs with their parts in mind, or do you ever write those parts, or is it kind of just a collaborative, you bring them the song idea and they kind of form the basis around you?
In the early days, it was, I had like a lot of other musicians on my albums. And then as it, probably 2015, 16, when I was doing records, I started spending so much time laying the tracks myself. The bass I would play myself, the guitar, all the guitars, the keyboards, and then drums became pretty neat with the loops, and I could build and how I wanted to hear the actual drummer.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of people debate this nowadays still, that with a live band, that's where you're going to get the most inspiration. I kind of find it both ways, where I'm laying all the instruments and making sure in my head what's on the song. So again, it's both ways. And so that's how I build songs, just from a basic idea, go in and start laying and layer until I think there it is, that's what I heard in my head.
That's really cool that you're able to do so
and
much.
That's the creative.
Recording.
Yeah, that technology definitely does play a big impact in the creative process now, because you can just hear it in your head and then lay it out then and there.
Yeah, you go from analog to digital with like Pro Tools and whatnot. It makes it so much easier to sit there and do a song in an afternoon if you've got the skill and the time for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my job every day. I'm in the studio all day long, creating this stuff. So, or I still perform live here and there, but yeah, the creative process, I love it. My wife will say, you got to get out and talk to somebody. Talk to another human being, Who did you talk to today? Well, I talked to my dog Baxter.
Talk to my guitar.
Yeah, I talk to my guitar. That's every day. So, it's what I enjoy, and I still love it after all these years. I still do.
It's great you're so prolific still, 30 something years, 40 something years in that career. Some fun questions here related to food. I don't know how much of a foodie you are. But do you have any favorite foods? Do you like to cook? I mean, I'm
Polynesian, so pokey is probably my favorite food. Sushi. My wife's Japanese, sushi, and between those two, I'll eat those every day if I could, if I could. So those are definitely my favorites.
But can you make them yourself is the question.
I can, but my wife does the poke and sushi, and she's better at doing it, so I always let her take it. But I could if I had to, but but not as good as hers. It wouldn't be as good as hers.
He's better cooked from others anyways.
Do you ever obviously you probably don't tour as much anymore, but did you ever find yourself having an interesting time trying to find food on the road? I mean, sometimes you end up in the middle of nowhere and it's here's McDonald's, but maybe there's a strange pub with the best wings you've ever had you're playing at. Do you have any cool I know that's a weird question, but I'm a big foodie, so.
No, I did go on tour right out of high school with a band called Clockwork, and we were kind of a jazz fusion band, and we started in Michigan and we made our way all the way down through the country to Texas. And I ate so much great barbecue, and I have a sister in Texas, so every time I go visit her, it's barbecue. So me and the bass player who grew up in Michigan, we would try and find the best we'd ask people, where's the best barbecue at? So if I'm not eating the Polynesian or the Japanese food, barbecue, I'll look for some good barbecue.
Have you had North Carolina style barbecue with the vinegar? It's more of a less sweet, more salty.
I've had it, but not in North Carolina. But everybody tells me, and I was actually born in North Carolina in Fort Bragg,
Oh,
but everybody tells me you got to go to North Carolina and have some of the barbecue there. So
yeah.
That's what he's
that's on my bucket list, to at least make it there. I haven't been there since I was born, so, and I was only there a year before my dad got transferred. So yeah, someday I'm getting back there.
Cool.
I'll be on the bucket list.
Yeah.
So we did also talk a tiny bit about this, but what role does improvisation and spontaneity play in your live shows?
A ton.
Of
And
course.
again, and I usually
Makes sense.
get some of the best musicians in Southern California to perform with me when I do it. Or, even when I've gone back and done concerts out, I'll get some of the best guys in that area. In Detroit, I've done quite a few shows over there over the years, and I'll get some of the best musicians to come play with me. So during the live shows, again, my live shows are much different than my records. I let everybody stretch usually, or if it's a song where the guitar and the keyboards have a solo in that song, like that Peyton's Place I was asking you about, if you could play it. There's a piano solo and a guitar solo, and they're short, but when we play them live, I sit back and we let them go. And again, that comes from a jazz background.
Yeah.
If you start, when you go to jazz concerts, guys take it out, and sometimes it's a little too long, but sometimes it's just perfect, and it makes the night. And again, to me, that's a jazz musician's biggest goal, is to try to tell a story while you're playing a solo. You're not singing words, so you're trying to tell a story how you play. So you start out a little slow, you try to take them through different moods, and and that's jazz. To me, that's what jazz is, and that's how my shows we try to run them that way.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you were not a musician, what career path do you think you would have taken? Because I know you said college wasn't really for you.
Yeah.
But what would you have done instead, do you think?
I'm not sure. I've been a musician since I was a kid, and there were some pretty rough times through the years where I thought I need to do something else, but something would always happen, like a band would need me, or something happened where it's like, okay, I can still do it. You know what I mean? Over the years, playing, I missed a lot of dances, and I played some sports in high school, but I usually played sports where I wouldn't hurt my hands after ninth grade when I started playing. But same thing. It was always like music's popped its head up and said, hey, you can go here and make some money and do it. So that's what's kept me going all these years. Even to this day, sometimes like, maybe I should try something else, but I just couldn't. I can't. I've been doing it so long, and I love it still. I can't see doing anything else.
Yeah.
Sorry. That doesn't really answer the question.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, that's completely all
It
right.
sounds like you're a musician from the heart, and that was never going to change. It sounds like
it really has.
That is so
It's really
cool.
been that way.
All right, well, we're going to get into some more of your music, Patrick. We'll catch you on the next side, and cool, we're back. Some more questions. All right, so how do you keep your performances fresh and engaging after all these years playing professionally? The same goes with songwriting, because you've been doing this for so long. I know it's fun, but sometimes it might be, I don't know, it might bog you down a little bit. What do you do to make things feel good and fresh and always exciting?
The good thing again about me and a lot of other artists, I guess, that do it a lot like I do, we have new music. So when we get out there, let's play the new song. Let's see how they like it, and a lot of times it's so rewarding when you play a new song that people aren't familiar with, and somebody will come up later and say, hey, that was pretty cool. That's going to be on the new album. Yeah. And that's, that keeps it fresh for me. And I try to, how can I put this? When I play like I was telling you, when I play songs of mine live, it's different. I a lot of times will kind of put a rock guitar instead of a smooth jazz sounding guitar in the song when I play it live, because I like to play it with a little emotion. And there's a guy, Mike Stern, I studied with when I was really young. I got to learn some things from him. He's a big jazz rock guy from Boston. Actually, I met him out in Boston, and and I've seen him play over the years, and he does that too. He just rocks out, and I try to do that in my shows too. It works sometimes, and sometimes you feel like the audience isn't getting you, but that's how I'm feeling it. So
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to add some distortion,
yeah,
Nothing wrong.
exactly. From
You have awesome tone. I just have to say, like that clean guitar
thank
tone
you.
with a little reverb and like some, oh my goodness. The punch on
Yeah.
that is just it makes my guitar player inside very happy. I'll just say
Oh,
that.
good. Thank you for saying
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome to hear because then it's almost like not that you have a different discography, but that the live shows are just so separate
Yeah.
from the regular discography that it is always new and interesting. Because you
Yeah, I
have
try to make it that way. Sometimes I feel like, because people will come up and say, "Hey, play this one tune." And I'm thinking, I wonder if they want it to sound like that song, kind of a smoother. But
record.
I've never had somebody go, "Gee, I wish you would have played it like the record." So yet, it hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Now that I said that, it's gonna happen.
So you talked about how you get the best people in whatever area you're playing, whether it's just Detroit or Southern California. Do you usually have like a set group of musicians, or do you change some people out throughout the live shows?
Yeah, that's a good question, because nowadays, unless you're a touring artist you can't keep the same band, because musicians, unless you're playing every week somewhere, it's really tough. Because again, like the guys that I mentioned that I usually have play with me, even in SoCal, they're touring with everybody, and they'll get on a tour with a big name who takes them away for 3 or 4 months or takes them overseas. So the guys that usually play with me, again, they're the guys I want, but if they can't do it because they're out on tour with somebody else, and yeah, usually there's great musicians everywhere there, and there's a bunch of great musicians that I can still go to in the Southern California area that'll love to come out for the night and do the show. So
that's cool.
And I don't do those tours like 40 shows in a row going across the country. I don't know if I would. If I could, it'd be tough to get away from my studio for that long and not work doing new music. So
yeah. So looking back on your career so far, like what do you think your proudest achievement is as a musician? Like, do you have a song where you completely winged it and it was just sounded perfect on the first recording, or anything like that? Like even any kind of I mean, you've mentioned that you're very a couple songs or albums you did, but like what could you say like your legacy moment or like album song, whatever it would be?
There was a song I had in a movie called Fruitvale Station.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, that's a
yeah, and it was Michael B. Jordan's, I think, his first big film.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I had a song in there, and I didn't know where they're going to use it. And we went to the movie, and there it was. It was at a certain scene. I go, oh my gosh, there it is. And that was the first song of mine that was used in a film. I had other tunes used in like some sports things on TV and that.
I could see that.
But but this was, and then to see my name at the end of the movie, and me and a bunch of friends went and saw it, and they knew we were waiting for it and seeing it. And I don't know, just even my friends after the movie go, that was cool, man. You were up on the big screen. I said, yeah, kind of.
I gotta rewatch that now because I want to.
Which song was the Fruitvale Station?
It was, it was. Boy, I'm having a hard time remembering the title of that one.
That's okay.
I should too, because it was on this, the IMDb thing that they sent me to look it up, Yeah. And I was like, when they first sent it to me, it's yeah, it's on IMDb or whatever. I said, what is that?
Yeah, you've got a credit on it for sure.
Yeah. So it's nice to see the credits, and it's still, I mean, on the royalty sheet, I'm still seeing stuff because wherever they show it, it still generates not a ton of money like it did at first, but still, there's still money from it.
Wow. Well, we'll find the song for you and we'll play it.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about
next
that.
break for sure.
As a guitarist, how do you balance technical proficiency with the emotional expression in your playing?
Yeah, your sound is like expressive, but also really technical, because I've noticed you like can do very slow, soulful soloing, but you can shred too. I put a quote on this that I needed to remind myself to say. Do you know who John Petrucci is by chance, the guitarist? Have you heard of
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I pretty much, at least to me, you're like the John Petrucci of fusion jazz. Like I think
Oh, thank you.
you're
And
so
he's kind of
freaking
a
good.
fusion jazz player, really.
Oh,
if
I
you-
know.
if you really
I
get
just
into
think
his stuff, yeah.
your playing is phenomenal.
That's a
Because
big
you got a lot of
compliment.
the
Thank
right
you.
notes and like emotional resonance that like matches up with whatever's playing in the background. Oh, anyway, yeah. How do you balance that?
That's as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I could play pretty fast, and that was a big deal for a lot of guitarists. Faster you could play, the better. And as I've gotten older, it's like you play so fast that you're not really telling us, like I was talking about, telling a story in jazz. You're just kind of, it's almost like saying too many words that don't mean anything to somebody. It's like get to the point and and try to. So now I try to, after learning all the stuff and playing fast all these years, now it's more like you take a look at the thing and try to approach a song soloing and play the notes that sound really good in it, to help the song. And another session guitar player I met a long time ago, I was a big fan of, Steve Lukather, said, you're trying to help the song. You're not trying to show that you can play the fastest in the world or anything. You're trying to fit the song with your guitar playing. So that's what I try to do.
Your guitar is almost the voice of the song, since there's usually not vocal.
Yeah.
If there are, they're like, a little bit of a vocal I've heard in a couple of your songs, but it's never like a chorus or a verse or anything like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a fun question in this round here.
Yes. This is also, I feel like we're putting in a lot of tricky questions. If you could have a jam session with any 3 music people, living or deceased, who would they be?
Definitely Jimi Hendrix. I got to put that in first, because John Bonham, the drummer from Zeppelin, I'm a big fan of his, both deceased. And live, Marcus Miller, bass player from New York, played with David Sanborn and all these other guys, and played with Miles Davis.
Cool.
Those guys. And geez, a singer I love is Adele, so that'd be a heck of a band right there.
That would be awesome. I love that. All right, well, we're gonna get into some music now. You requested Peyton's Place, so we're gonna play that in this next block of Patrick music, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Be Kind Ram Wine. It's our interview with Patrick Yandall.
Yeah, so as a guitar person, I love, I'm a big Ibanez fan. I don't know how you feel about Ibanez, but what's like your favorite guitar like brand? Like what's your go-to?
My go-to is this guy right here. This is my big Studio X. It's a Fender Strat, but I had it modified, and so I can play a lot of different kind of sounds, like a jazz sound, and I'm endorsed by Seymour Duncan, and they set me up.
Really?
Kind of geared their pickups for my sound, so I can get a jazz sound here and rock out with these guys here. So
that's really.
And I do sessions. I've done tons of sessions with this. So this is my main guitar, but I love Ibanez. I still would go. I still love my Ibanez. I've got a jazz, like a 335 model of theirs, and I do a lot of jazz stuff on it. And I just picked up. That's funny you bring up Ibanez. I just bought this ART 100, and you can get them for like $200 off the internet. But I got it, and I put some nice pickups in it. And it's probably been one of my more favorite guitars that around. So I am using the Ibanez also.
Is that guitar you just showed us the one in the Seascape album art? Because it looks just like it with the.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so you mentioned Weather Channel Jazz earlier. I know you've been featured on there because I did research, but what do you think of that term? Like when people say that, do you think that like brings more fans into the genre? Because a lot of people hear that kind of music on there or in airports or whatever, lounges, and they're like, what is this like called? And if you don't know, you might call it something like Weather Channel
or like
Jazz.
Elevator.
Yeah, Elevator Jazz.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of that? Do you think it's cool that it helps bring people into the fold? I mean,
I think it does, because there were people that created these playlists from music from the Weather Channel, and they used to contact me and say, hey, what's because the Weather Channel would change our titles when they used it there. So he would say, so this one guy that used to create all these playlists and post them to all these different music sites used to contact me and said, hey, your song, this song of yours, what's the real title of it? So because, yeah, I don't know why Weather Channel did that, but they had to file a certain different application to get the rights to use our music. And they did pay for it. And they actually paid pretty well for it, which was kind of nice when those guys were using her. And they changed it around now. Now they changed it from kind of that funky jazz format to something else now. It's different now. But for years they used me and a lot of other it's actually a bunch of guys I knew up in LA that had their stuff on there too.
There's actually a website that has tracked at least up to like 2011 or 12 every song that's been used on there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes. I can't remember what the name is, but if you search up like Weather Channel like music website, you'll probably find it.
Yeah. No, that's funny.
All right.
But that's like you said, that's that genre of it. Just people would say, "Oh, because I was involved in writing for writing and recording for Muzak. Now I don't know if you remember that. Everybody's like, "Well, that's just elevator music." Well, that elevator music stopped being the annoying stuff to like, hey, let's start putting in like this jazz funk stuff. So I was involved in that. A executive producer that hired me to do music along with these other producers from LA and also from New York. We started doing a lot of the funk jazz stuff, and that's why you started hearing that stuff. Like the airports and elevators. It wasn't the annoying, let me get out of this elevator as soon as possible kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's so interesting how it changed.
Yeah.
So fun question. If you can time travel to any era or even like musical performance, where would you go and why?
I'd go back to the 70s because a lot of the music that I grew up when I was a kid, it just was freer back then. And I remember, hearing these live concert things of like the Allman Brothers, and songs were like 12 minutes long and the guitar players just stretched and stretched. Just took it where they, and there was probably a lot of drugs involved in that, but there was a lot of freedom in the music, and and a lot of the great music came out of that, the rock and the funk and stuff.
You're like a number one artist you'd want to see though, like you said, Allman Brothers, maybe Jimmy. Like
I would have liked to see Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Allman Brothers, I had a chance to when I was real young, but I really wasn't that familiar with them. My older brother wanted to take me, and I kind of fought him on it. Like, now I want to smack myself because I should have went and saw them. It would have been incredible.
Well, at least
Yeah.
Have you had any unusual inspiration that you used for a song or melody, or like an unexpected, something that was unexpected and you're like, oh, I should use this for a song, or like something like that.
riff on it?
Yeah, like a riff. Yeah.
Again, going back to the 70s, I've got tunes that I get, like you're saying, I'll listen to it and think, I'd like to do a song like that song. So there's a tune called On My Way Home that I did on an older album. And it came kind of from listening to some Earth, Wind & Fire tunes.
Okay.
Like, and some of them are funky stuff. So that tune came out of that. Like he said, I listened to that and I thought, I'd like to do a song like that. And the groove kind of came out of there, but I changed all the other, the melody and everything around. But the groove definitely came out of that Earth, Wind & Fire genre.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you think sets jazz guitar, like, apart from, well, just jazz in general, apart from other genres, and like what makes it such a timeless and unique art form? Is clearly it's your passion. So
yeah. Again, I think I got into jazz more as I got older, out of high school, just because I could figure out a rock tune in like probably 5-10 minutes. I could figure out any rock. Back then it was Aerosmith, even some of the tougher stuff, yes, I could figure out pretty quickly. Not all the Yes, that was hard stuff.
Yeah.
But as I got older, and then I started hearing some jazz and seeing some jazz guys, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? I couldn't even fathom playing like that. So that's why I kind of got it. It was a challenge, you know. So I, even with my ear, I really had to delve deeply into the music. It's almost like a classical music where you can't fake it. You got to go in there and learn. It's like learning a language, and if you can't, you know, you can't fake speaking a language. So, and
No,
I wanted to be good at it. So I'm still studying it. It's
of
a
course,
never-ending process. I
education
still
is
trying to get better. Yeah. What's that?
education is important. Learn every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So
learn
I'm
something new
still,
every
you
day.
know, again, I went to, when I was in college, I had a couple jazz courses and I had a couple classical music courses, but I just wasn't a good listener. I also was thinking, well, I can learn that by just listening to it, you know, or
Yeah, you don't
practicing,
want to hear
you
a
know what?
professor talk about it. You just
Yeah.
want to do it. You just want to get to
Yeah.
it.
I just wanted to do it. So
That's
again,
tenacity. I
that's
love
where
that.
it took me.
That's
Yeah.
cool. All right, we're gonna get back to the music before our last interview block. Here's one of Patrick's newer songs, "Seascape," along with some other favorites of ours.
All right, and we're back. We're with Patrick Yandall. It is our last block of interview questions. It has been a pleasure so far. We've had a lot of fun.
Me too.
So you talked about how your music was featured in films such as Fruitvale Station and on the Weather Channel. Where is the #1 place you'd want your music to be featured in,
If you could choose.
if you could choose?
Uh, I really like seeing it in films. I wish I could get in there more. And I was working with a company out of LA, and they started to use quite a bit. And then I'm not sure what happened during COVID. Something happened to them, and they kind of switched. Some people left, and some. So I'm trying to get back into that a little bit more. Definitely film.
Like
It's like seeing.
genre wise though, is there a certain like type of movie or TV show you'd like be like, wow, that would be perfect for that?
Uh, you know, I always loved the music that was kind of accompanied sitcoms. You know, like there's an old show called Everybody Loves Raymond where it's
Oh,
jazz,
sure.
and I always think
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cool to have a song, and in that played every time that show came on, like
Yeah,
that.
like the little between commercial things where they have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
5 second thing. Sure, I
yeah.
could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when a certain character walks in.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
Right, you're right. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Play a little blurb from one of my tunes there. It'd be kind of cool.
Are there any specific challenges unique to being a musician that you've encountered throughout your career?
uh, just my son's in college now. He's going for his doctorate in PT in Chicago, and when he was younger, some people used to ask me, "Why, are you trying to help him become a musician?" I said, "I do not want him to be a musician, just because it's still tough here and there, and it's a tough life, really, and the way the music industry has changed with streaming and stuff. Um, it's really changed over the years. Like how much you get paid for a play of your song is just it's really kind of criminal now what a streaming service pays. So again, the toughest thing about being a musician is just keeping that revenue, streaming from something, whether it's TV, whether like the weather, like I said, Weather Channel is great, the film, uh, radio, but you got to play the game. So you're looking for as many streams as you can nowadays, to supplement your income. And then again, playing live. And so whatever, I've always been like, well, if I can make money and old jazzer Joe Pass said, if you can make money with your instrument, you should do it. So
absolutely.
I've always kept that in mind, to just play to make money, record to make money, get your music where it makes money, and keep playing the game.
I have a feeling you might be on my Spotify Wrapped this year. Just saying. I've been diving into the discography the last couple months a lot more. So if you are, I'll definitely let you know.
Oh, thank you for doing that. Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course.
that's
All right. So another question: how do you like stay connected with your audience? Both on and off the stage. Like, I'm sure you've got fans that are musicians, but I'm sure you've also got just jazz fans. Like, what do you like to do? Like hearing from them on like social media or like in person? Like, what have you noticed about that over the years?
Instagram is I post like little people will film me performing this here and there, and I get a lot of response from putting short videos on Instagram and Facebook, and I've done some on TikTok, and that's part of it. I know that's part of it, and like companies that I'm endorsed with like to see videos of me using their gear live, and so again, I like doing that stuff, and it's hopefully, I mean, you're gonna get a few haters here and there saying, "What are you doing?" Saying something, but I do. I do like posting that stuff on those, and I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok for those things.
Yeah.
Especially because that is a big thing of how musicians are getting out there is those short
Right.
form.
Yes.
The short little vids, yeah.
I'm a big fan of like jazz in general, and I also love Japanese culture and music. Are you like into any Japanese jazz musicians? Because they have a similar kind of sound to you in some records, but I've also noticed they get a lot more technical sometimes, but there's definitely a similarity in some ways. Are you into any of that stuff?
I am, and I've always been, and they've played a lot of my music over there over the years.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, and
it doesn't surprise me.
It's kind of nice to see, and they've always said, the radio programmers over there. Again, this is before streaming, when they actually had the hard stations over there, and they used to always send me stuff, and every time they'd send me stuff, I'd say, "Well, bring me over there to play it. I want to go over because I have gone over to Tokyo to play before, but I kept saying, bring me over to there to play, because I love going to that country. And they love instrumental stuff. They really love it. So
I could see some of your stuff being in like, there's a lot of like Japanese role-playing games that use a lot of jazzy music. I could see you composing for that kind of thing. You might want to like put some feelers out there about that.
I will. And it's funny, it's a weird thing to say, but my brother-in-law sent me this link one time. They were using my music, and it was these Japanese like models, lingerie models. So he sent me it, and I didn't listen to it. As soon as I saw it, I go, "Why are you sending me this stuff?" He said, "No, turn the sound down.
Turn the sound on. You gotta hear it."
It was from that Lasting Embrace album, and it was probably like 20 minutes long. So they're playing different tunes from that album. I thought,
oh, cool.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool. It's unique, but it's cool. Hey, as long as your music's getting out there, man.
Yeah, that's true. And they had to pay to use it, I think. So I hope.
As you know, you're in San Diego right now, so we have a 3-hour difference. Will you ever come to the East Coast? And I know you talked about that you've been here before in New York, but
yeah, I'd love to do it more. For the longest time when my son was growing up, I tried not to travel that much, and I really hit the studio hard for sessions and also doing my own stuff. And so I wouldn't have to travel. Now that he's in college stuff, I've started to get out there more. And the farthest east was that New York show, but I've never made it down into Pennsylvania or down into there. Over the years, sometimes they would contact me, say, "Hey, we want you out here for this jazz festival." But like I said, after a while, like in the early 2000s, a lot of labels weren't supporting you going to these places to play. It was all on your own dime. And so a lot of times I didn't have that many dimes. I couldn't afford it. So I just never made it into that area. But now it's like, if somebody asked me to come back to play, especially these jazz festivals, I love doing that, because I end up knowing a lot of musicians that are, in these things. So if I ever got asked again, I would definitely come out there and do it.
Pat, we would absolutely travel to New York to see you. Seriously.
Yeah. I'd love to come to Pennsylvania, to be honest. Sure, try some of your food.
Oh, you have to have a cheesesteak. You got to have a cheesesteak.
Philly has a pretty good jazz scene.
Yeah, actually, we do. We have a lot of really cool music scene stuff in general, from metal to emo to pop to whatever. I mean, there's small venues and huge venues. So but yeah, if you ever do come anywhere close to us, we will 100% come see you.
We will drive out there.
Oh, great.
Maybe
you gotta keep in touch after this.
Yeah, so last question. Well, it's a multiple question. Do you have any future projects, maybe another Christmas album? We loved your Christmas stuff. We actually, when we do our Christmas show, we always play your Christmas tunes because they're
Oh, thank you.
and or maybe another album that's like the Going for One album where it's a lot more like hard rock distortion. We love that one too. So
You guys might be the only ones that heard that album. Because like a lot of people, you know, when that came out, I was like, "Why'd you do a rock album for?" I said,
Why
"I grew
not?
up playing rock, you know, why not?" And that album, I actually did that project for a company that was doing what kind of videos are they doing? It was like paintball kind of videos, and they wanted a bunch of rock tunes, and that's where that whole project came
That's
from.
wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any stuff in the pipeline right now?
I got a new album coming out in August, and it'll hit. Wow. The new single comes out. It's actually a vocal tune. Geez, can you guys see that?
Oh, I've seen that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's coming out in August. The single will hit September, and it's actually a vocal tune sung by weird story. My son played lacrosse for that Elmhurst University, and he two of the players that he lived in a house with were doing hip hop, and this girl was singing on those. He had me listen. I said, "Who's the girl singing on there?" And he said, "Oh, her name's Rachel." And I said, "She's got a great voice." And well, fast forward a year, it became his girlfriend. And so I said she would come out and visit with him, and I said, "I really like your voice." And then one day he had a doctor's appointment or something. I said, "Rachel, come in the studio for a minute. I want you to just try singing a couple things." And she came in and she knocked out this other tune I had on my Blues Alley album called If I Fall. And I really liked it. I didn't promote it that much, but this one she sings on the title track, "You Will Be All Right." And you know, I'll get it to you guys just after we talk, and let me know where I can send it to you guys, and I'll send you the album.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's what's coming out in August, September this year.
Right.
Nice.
We love your acoustic album, by the way. If you ever do any of those again, that would be awesome.
That's definitely in the works, because a lot of people ask me that, especially the people that like the acoustic sound of acoustic guitar. They say, "When are you gonna do the whole nother acoustic album?" So you know, and again, my guitars are up on the wall here, and the acoustics I use for sessions, like when people want rhythm stuff, and you know, so once in a while an acoustic solo on their albums, and I've used it, but I definitely need to do another full acoustic album.
That's so cool. All right, Patrick. Well, we just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank
So
you so
appreciate it.
much.
You've been a delight. We've had so much.
Thanks, you guys.
It's so
Nice
cool
meeting both of you. It's great.
Before the semester, and our show is over because we're both graduating this year.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And
yeah, it's a big deal, man.
Yeah, we'll make sure to send you, recording, the post, all that stuff.
Yeah, give me the address and I'll send you the new album and whatever else you need.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, you have an awesome night. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and we will catch you later.
All right, you guys. Nice meeting you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.